All right, this is 3rd&1 live on your Monday morning drive. That's right. Ready to recap the sports weekend with you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are listening, whether you are listening on the app, we appreciate that. And if you haven't downloaded the app yet and you're listening via other means, you need to go download it. It is on the Apple App Store as well as Google Play Store. It's free. And it is awesome. You can even watch our ugly mugs right through it because there's the YouTube button on it. And let me use that as a segue to say, if you are watching live on YouTube right now, thank you so much for that as well. If you haven't subscribed yet, whether you're listening on the app or you're hey, you know, I kind of saw this through Facebook, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if it's live or if you're listening to a replay. I want you to go subscribe right now to our channel. That's right, youtube.com. You just search for the words crossover space radio, and you can actually filter the list by channels, and there we are. Or you can just go to our Facebook page. It's one of the top pinned posts that we've done on our Facebook page, Crossover Radio. And you can actually see the link there. Go subscribe. Then you can always get updates whenever there are new videos. I know that .com. You just search for the words. Sorry, I just got to turn on the computer there. Sorry about that. But man, if you have not if you have not subscribed, you need to do that. That way you can get all the videos. I know that that the Thunder guys, which by the way have been doing an incredible job, and if you haven't caught their show, you need to go catch it. But the Thunder guys are pretty active in that too, because they'll also do some of the post-game recaps, which is awesome, and really, really, really good stuff. But you do need to subscribe, though. It would be incredible. Drop us a comment there. Drop us questions. It's a really nice interactive experience if you just go on to youtube.com. All right. Man, so many things that happened this weekend. So many big things that happened this weekend with regards to NCAA football. And let me bring my brother, my co-host, Dustin. Dustin, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing well. It's a long weekend. Had a bachelor party this weekend, and also with Thanksgiving, getting to go see family. Yeah, feels like it's been a while since we've been in here, and so
it does. Even it's been a week.
Yeah, it doesn't feel. I mean, I guess it hasn't been too long, but it definitely feels that way. And so
no, I'm with you.
I am excited to get back, get in a regular schedule. So yeah, so you guys that are out there listening, if you don't know. We come in here Monday mornings and Friday mornings from 7 to 8:30, and so the last few Fridays I've had to miss. It's been a busy November, and so I really am pumped to get back into a regular schedule and talk some sports as we kind of come to the culmination of college football and get into the thick of NBA. Now's a really, really fun time. If you're a sports fan, you got college football, the playoffs coming up, the championship weeks coming up for all the conferences. You're really getting into the thick of the NBA, of who's going to make the playoff pushes, and with the Thunder being, kind of being disappointing up to this point, they really are going to have to fight to get into that stacked Western Conference playoff push. And so it really is a fun time, and I really am excited. Now, we talked about that there's a lot that went down this past weekend. College football was insane this past weekend. A lot of upsets, a lot of big things that shook up the college football playoff world. So yeah, there really is a lot to go over and a lot to talk about today. So yeah, do us a favor if you're listening in on YouTube or listening in through the app. If you just give us a little share on Facebook or on YouTube, a subscription, that would be awesome. We really appreciate that. And always, if you want to text in or comment in on the live chat on YouTube, you're welcome to do that. That text number for us to see right here in the studio is 405-494-0234. Let us know what you think about the weekend, what you're thinking about the Thunder, either of the Big 12 teams here in Oklahoma, or just anybody. Let us know what you're thinking, and we'll be glad to join in on the discussion and conversation. So
most definitely, and I think we'll get into the Thunder here in a little while. I think the biggest news definitely has to be all the shakeup in the NCAA. I really do. I think that's the biggest news of the last few days, especially. It it has been incredible. But we'll definitely talk some Thunder here after a while. I definitely have a lot of thoughts on that. And, man, it's – can I – no, I don't even want to get into it right now. All right. So let's talk about the NCAA. Let's talk about the NCAA. So you had your top two teams go down. In Miami fell on Friday to a Pittsburgh team, which is not bad, not good. They're just
same Pittsburgh team that Oklahoma State absolutely destroyed.
Yes, true that.
But that's been a start of the season to now. Teams are completely different at the end of the year.
It's been a couple of moons since then. Yeah. But it's if in my opinion, man, I just think with that whole deal. You've got a case of Miami was probably looking past them too much. Now here's the honest reality though. Okay, AP poll came out yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. Clemson number 1. Oh yeah, you got it pulled up. Clemson number 1, Oklahoma number 2, Wisconsin number 3, and Auburn number 4. I feel like that is a somewhat fair. I'm not sure if Oklahoma is number 2, but I will say at this point in the season, I feel like Oklahoma is probably could beat Wisconsin and maybe pretty easily. Mm-hmm. I'm not convinced on Wisconsin. We're gonna see here in the next week, especially what's gonna hold for Wisconsin because they got to beat who is it they're gonna be playing in the
Ohio State. Got to beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship.
Okay, I mean there it is. Mm-hmm. I mean you got to go out and prove it now.
Yeah.
I mean go do it. If you can't, then you're done. Here's the bottom line. Ohio State, right or wrong. Okay, let me ask you this. I will say for Miami, if Miami beats Clemson, this is where I was going with it first, okay? Yeah, Clemson's number 1. If Miami beats Clemson next week or this upcoming Saturday, they're in, right?
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
Yeah. If Miami may be in, Clemson will be out for sure.
Mm-hmm. Because then the loser will have 2 losses. There's absolutely no way a 2-loss ACC is getting in. The only way a 2-loss SEC is getting in is if Auburn, who has showed up to the party.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a little late. I mean, let's just be honest about it. They were a little late to the party, and they were like, man, we were kind of dragging a little bit. But then they came in full force, and they have showed that they are the dominant team in the SEC as of right now. They knocked off both Georgia and Alabama in 2 out of 3 weeks.
I'm really pumped about a couple teams just from the beginning of the season. I've got to give a little shout out to myself.
Okay.
A little just brush my shoulders off here on a couple of sleeper picks. So if you remember going back, I said Auburn was my sleeper team for the SEC. Yeah. I also said TCU was my sleeper team for the Big 12. And now we're going down to the end of the season, and guess who are in the championship game.
You're not wrong.
So I'm pumped about that. I don't know if either one of them are going to win, but I'm just excited that both those teams did well, got into the championship game. So
I've been touting Miami all year, and
yes, you have been.
I wasn't surprised though, because here's the thing. I mean, Miami hasn't been in that situation in a while, and even though as good of a coach as I think Mark Richt is. I just think that, it doesn't surprise me. They should have beat Pittsburgh, yes. But here's the bottom line. I thought I saw a comment by him saying, there's still a lot that we have to play for. I still think you have the championship to play for. I mean, if you're looking at this game against Clemson, you're going, dude, we beat the number 1 team in the nation. We're only number 7. We only have 1 loss. We're in. Because here's what's not going to happen, okay? Okay, if Oklahoma wins, okay, let's just say Oklahoma wins.
Yeah, they're in.
They're in, okay? If Wisconsin wins, they're in. Mm-hmm. If Auburn wins, Auburn is definitely in over a 2-loss Georgia, and even though it's a 1-loss Alabama, they're in over Alabama. Now here's where the craziness gets. Do they put in Alabama, a 1-loss Alabama who did not even play in the SEC championship game, or do they put in the ACC winner?
So I think.
Because if Clemson wins, we know how that's going to shake out. There's no way they're putting in Alabama over Clemson. That's just not going to happen. But how does that go if it doesn't go that way?
Yeah, that is going to be strange.
What if Wisconsin loses? Are they going to put in a 2-loss Ohio State over a 1-loss ACC if it's Miami that wins?
I really think the committee messed up last year by putting in Ohio State. and when they didn't have a big a conference championship win. Because this year they could easily just make the argument, well, Miami has a conference championship, Alabama doesn't.
Only one loss.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And so they could make that argument. But now, since they did that last year and since Ohio State, quote unquote, broke the system last year when they put them in, even though they didn't have a conference championship game, well, now all these fan bases can go back and say, well, you put in Ohio State last year and they didn't have a conference championship. So, and it was all because of their resume. And doesn't Alabama have a better resume? Well, maybe actually they don't up to this year. If we're really looking at it, they don't have a better resume than Ohio State last year. But it gives you that scenario where a team can slide in that doesn't have a conference championship because you've done it last year. It was a dumb move by the College Football Playoff Committee. I didn't like it at all. And I think that's going to be one that comes back to bite them because this committee has no credibility right now of how they are ranking this. And it's becoming easier and easier as the season has gone off, but there's been several weeks.
They've gotten lucky with how it's shaking out. Sorry, go ahead.
And there's still some scenarios where it could be very crazy. I mean, if you're looking at Wisconsin loses, Miami wins, Georgia wins over Auburn, then it's going to be a weird scenario where you're looking at, do we throw Alabama in there? Does Miami deserve to be in there since they beat Clemson? It's a strange scenario. And Wisconsin, if they don't win, then you're looking at where's Ohio State in that mix? There's going to be some teams that are very unhappy with how
there are so many people that are still so high on Ohio State, and. Okay, so let's look at their schedule, and I haven't really looked at their schedule before right at this moment. So I'm just going to look at it and give an honest opinion. Do I think that their schedule warrants if they beat Wisconsin? Do I think their schedule warrants that they should be in? So if we had that same question about Auburn, yes, 2 losses. If they win, they absolutely deserve to be in. Absolutely. I don't care that they have 2 losses and that Alabama only has 1. I don't care because Alabama's schedule has been soft. Everyone's talking about it. Alabama's schedule has been soft up to this point in the year. And here we are. That's it. There's no more games for Alabama to play. So they had one of the softest schedules of some of the top teams. All right, so let's look at this. Where are Ohio State's quality wins? Let's see. They beat Indiana. Not a quality win. They beat Army West Point. Not a quality win. They beat UNLV. Not a quality win. At Rutgers, Maryland, Nebraska. Penn State was their first quality win, and that was on the 28th of October. And they only beat them by 1 point. 1 point. It took an incredible effort by J.T. Barrett for them to win that game by 1 point. At Iowa, loss. Michigan State, win. Michigan, win. And that's it, besides playing against Wisconsin. So they have really 2 good wins. That's it, because they got drubbed by Oklahoma in their own home stadium.
Yeah, that's a bad game for them looking back at the schedule. And you're looking at Auburn's losses. They lost to Clemson 6-14, which is, I mean, if you can consider
not a bad win. Number 1 team in the
loss,
nation.
Yeah. That's one of them. And then who else is their loss?
It was LSU.
LSU. That's kind of a game, like you said, at the beginning of the year, late to the party. And not a terrible loss, only by 4 points. So
what are some of their wins besides obviously Alabama and Georgia? Do they have any other top
I think
tier
that's
wins?
pretty much it. Alabama, Georgia. I mean Mississippi State. But they've kind of fallen off.
But Mississippi State's still pretty decent.
Yeah.
I think that.
I mean, those are you're looking at the top 4 best teams in the SEC.
They've beat the number 1 team 2 out of 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the only team that the only teams they've lost to, one of them is currently number 1. Mm-hmm. So you want to talk about a tough schedule. You want to talk about a really tough schedule. There you go. So I just think that Auburn has so much more to show there. But I don't think anyone's arguing that Auburn shouldn't be in if they win. But it is rather incredible, some of the things that we're seeing going on in the SEC. Someone's going to get left out who deserves to be in. I really feel that way. I think the only way it doesn't happen is if Wisconsin loses and Clemson loses. Well, if Wisconsin loses, two SEC teams are going to be in my opinion.
I think so.
Because I don't think that they're putting in a 2-loss Ohio State over Alabama
Yeah, I think you're right.
Sure.
I think if you're an Alabama fan, you're hoping for a Wisconsin loss this week.
Yeah. Or you mean it was? Sorry. Yes, I thought you were saying Ohio State.
Yeah, you want Clemson to win if you're Alabama, and you want Wisconsin to lose, and then that'll open up the case for 2 SEC teams to go into the college football playoff in Auburn and Alabama, or even Georgia and Alabama. Now, if you're Ohio State, there's got to be some things happen, I feel like, for Ohio State to make it in. One, you want Miami to lose in the conference championship game. You probably even want Oklahoma to lose this week to TCU if you're Ohio State. You'd also want Wisconsin to lose, and then to make it absolutely perfect for you, you'd want Auburn to win. And I feel like Ohio State could sneak in if that's the case.
Yeah. No, most definitely. I do agree with that. I just, man, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. I mean, the only way that Ohio State gets in is if Oklahoma loses.
Yeah. I mean, there'd have to be several. Wisconsin and Oklahoma would both have to lose, I think.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm with you. I don't, man, it's going to be very interesting into the season. I will say that. This, the past few years, you kind of had a good idea. Man, you don't know who's going to be in the playoffs right now. You just don't. It doesn't matter what happens right now because all those championship games are going to be so competitive. Mm-hmm. Clemson and Miami, number 1 versus number 7. Oklahoma and TCU, number 2 and number 10. Ohio State and Wisconsin, number 3 and number 8. Auburn and Georgia, number 4 and number 6. Those are incredible matchups. Mm-hmm. And you know who's not even in the top 10? The Pac-12 because they're garbage.
Yeah, they are pretty bad this year. Pac-12, yeah, Pac-12.
There's zero scenario in which I see a Pac-12 team getting in. I'm sorry, you just don't.
So.
Because the winner of these championship games are all going to have a top voice to get in. Let's just say TCU wins, okay? Let's say TCU drubs Oklahoma. Okay, I'm not saying it's not possible because it definitely is. But let's say that they do that. TCU is going to have a really, really good shot to get in.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have a situation where they're going to be like, man, they beat the number 2 team in the nation. If both Oklahoma, of course, in that scenario would go down, and Wisconsin goes down, I think that TCU has a really good shot. I mean, a really good shot. Because then you're going to put in Auburn, Clemson, and then Alabama. And then are you gonna put in Ohio State over a TCU in that scenario? Maybe. I mean, it's gonna be really close. I bet they would though. They're gonna go with the name. So
yeah, I think they'd take
TCU doesn't have a shot.
TCU is gonna have a tough time getting in.
They would have to really, pour it on OU. I mean, I'm talking like a 59-13 kind of win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just kill them.
Yeah, the Iowa State loss, and how Iowa State has continued to lose. After playing OU and TCU has really hurt TCU and Oklahoma, honestly. If they didn't have that loss, obviously you're looking at Oklahoma sitting number 1 if they didn't lose to Ohio State. So, and looking at it, really, Oklahoma, it's strange to say when we're talking about OU in the college football playoff because you're like, I don't know if they're the best team in the college football playoff. And it's that scenario, but they have the best resume. Absolutely, in my opinion. Out of all these teams, they've played more top 25 teams, have the win at Ohio State, which was, if we're looking back last year, the thing that got Ohio State into the playoff was that they beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Yeah. That was the big thing. They went in there and won in Norman, and so that was what jumped in. So Oklahoma has that win over number 8 Ohio State in Columbus, and have continued to play well. Have beaten TCU already, Oklahoma State, and I don't think is there anyone else in the top 25 in the Big 12. No, okay. So they have 3 top 25 wins right now.
Yeah,
most of anyone in the top 25 in the college football playoff discussion. And then the one loss to Iowa State, which is probably the worst loss besides Clemson. Out of everyone that's looking to get in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things. Here's what's really interesting about it, though. For all and this kind of goes on, building on your point. Clemson lost to a bad Syracuse team. Oklahoma lost to a Iowa State team.
Let's say middle of the road. I think, yeah.
And Syracuse isn't terrible. Syracuse is closer to the middle of the road, actually. But
I think they're like 4-7 this year.
yeah,
Pretty.
yeah, 4-7.
I think so. Let's look it up.
But anyways, I just think that it's very interesting that they're both the top 2 teams now. They wouldn't be if the guys ahead of them hadn't lost. But if you're looking at the guys who have one loss and who they lost to, if you're Alabama, your argument becomes, wait, we only lost to an Auburn team, which is now number 4 in the nation, and we are now out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just because we just lost, but that's how the system goes. It's what have you done for me lately? Whether it's right or wrong, that's how it goes. Now, if they want to go back to the BCS, which I know Alabama does because Alabama dominated the BCS. If you want to go back to the BCS, there you go. It wouldn't really have that much effect on you.
Yeah. So Syracuse right now is 4-8. So
yikes.
Pretty rough.
Never
Pretty
mind.
rough for them. So
Yeah,
just had a 42-14 loss to Boston College.
Woo. Man, rough. That's not good. But yeah, no, it's a crazy deal to me. It's a really, really crazy thing. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of those games for sure. But let's talk about this, okay? OU's performance on Saturday. If you had to sum it up in one word, what would you say?
Man, I'd say one word. I don't want to say domination because it wasn't complete domination. I want to say, I'll say slugfest.
Slugfest.
Yeah. So, started off the game. I mean, really, the run game got them going first half.
Yeah, whenever Kyler Murray rips it off for, what was it, 60, 70 yards?
Yeah, and then Rodney Anderson had 4 touchdowns in the first half.
I was thinking he was going to break Quentin's 6-touchdown record.
I think I need to look up his stats, but he is eclipsing like the national total of rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean Rodney Anderson. If we're talking about, okay, here's what I was thinking about in the game on Saturday. Okay, if Rodney Anderson, well, let me do this. Let's roll to a break real quick. We need to roll to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Rodney Anderson and something that may actually surprise a lot of people. It's something outrageous. It's something outlandish. But I want to say it because I think it needs to be said. So we'll get to that here in just a moment when we come back right after these short messages from our sponsors.
Hey, newly engaged couples, are you tired of the same ho-hum, boring wedding reception every weekend? Don't you want yours to be the party everyone's talking about 3 months later? Then give us a call today at BTP Productions. We offer online planning forms, the best OKC DJs, lighting and sound packages, ceremony packages, and anytime consultations. We put you in total control of your party so you get your reception your way. Call us today at 405-609-9980. That's 405-609-9980. Or find us on Facebook. That's BTP Productions. The right music, the right DJ equals BTP Productions. Call today.
Crossover Radio is the best station I have ever listened to, even over other Christian stations. They are such a blessing. God uses this radio station that God started through the DJs and everyone on there to bless us and to show us Him.
Do you love coffee? Does your church, office, or business need coffee? What about getting amazing quality coffee at home from a business that serves our community and the world? Grounds for Compassion can meet your needs. The amazing staff at Grounds for Compassion would love to connect with you. There are 14 varieties, so you can't go wrong. Check out Grounds for Compassion on Facebook, Instagram, or at g4c.coffee, where you can place your order. Grounds for Compassion, coffee with conviction.
Crossover Radio. Radio with a purpose.
All right, 3rd and 1 live on your Monday morning drive. Or if you're stationary, that's okay too. It doesn't have to be on your drive.
Yeah, you don't always have to be driving. That's okay.
That's all right. It's an interesting thing as I've gotten older. I used to always love driving, and I mean that. Like, driving was just kind of my thing. I just loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm not so much that way anymore. I really just don't like driving that much. I guess it's because I'm getting older, and we'll see. I don't know. But man, this Friday is I turn the big 3-0.
Big 3-0, that's a big one.
It's a big one, man. It's crazy. It's
Dirty
weird.
30, how do you feel about it?
Man, I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. I feel it. I can't stay up as late anymore and not have repercussions.
Oh yeah.
For one, it's just harder to stay up. Yeah, and I remember whenever I was like early 20s, I was like, I could just do whatever, especially whenever I was a teenager. Man, I could stay up till like 2 o'clock in the morning, wake up at 6 o'clock, and after a little bit, I'd be like, all right, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh gosh, it hurts so badly.
Yeah, so big 30's coming up.
Yeah.
Second kid on the way.
Yeah.
It's real. It's
real
now.
Life is real. There's no doubt about that. Man, it's good though. I'm so happy, and man, it's been really good stuff. By the way, we got the I told you it was about a couple weeks ago that there's a really good thing on the November 22nd. We were going to be playing the Warriors as the Thunder. That turned out to be a really good game. We'll talk about that here in a little while. But also, I was going to get an ultrasound of the baby, and that was really cool. We didn't really get to see the baby with the type of ultrasound and everything, but we at least got to see heartbeat's good, so everything is golden. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great news.
Yeah. So we were super excited. That was our main deal. We just wanted to know that the heartbeat was all there. So it was really good stuff. But man, it has been really interesting discussion, I think, about the NCAA, which, by the way, if any of our listeners have not caught all of that conversation, you can catch it on youtube.com. You can go to our channel, Crossover Radio, and then you can actually roll the tape back. Listen to it, because I think it's really, really interesting stuff. If you didn't catch it, you need to catch it. You need to drop us your comments. You can comment us on Facebook or YouTube. We don't really care either way. We would love to just hear from you all and to just kind of know what you think. So, but let's continue on this conversation. So we started getting into the discussion, right? We started getting into the discussion about OU, about Rodney Anderson, and I said I have something kind of shocking, something that sounds a little bit, for some people, sound a little bit ridiculous. But let me say this: if Rodney Anderson, the first 4 or 5 games of the season, okay, he didn't really play. Even in the Texas game, he didn't really play. He played a little bit. But if Rodney Anderson, the first 4 or 5 games in the season, was at the position he is now, okay?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to word it.
Yes, if he were running this way, then as he is now, and it wasn't really his fault. I think he was just coming back from injury. There's a lot of things he was trying to get back into.
It had been 2 years since he had played football, like
rust,
competitively.
Man, so much rust, and it was a real thing, as we're seeing. If he was playing this way, though, and there wasn't that kind of rust, I think we're looking at one of the top 3 Heisman contenders, without a doubt.
And I agree with you. And it's good that it's not, because we look back last year and seeing Dede and Mayfield both go, I don't think you would have one of those 2 win. Usually when there's a scenario when there's 2 top 4 finishes from the same team, one of those guys usually doesn't win it. It's usually
Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush.
That's true.
But you're right. It's
generally we're looking at Jason White, Adrian Peterson, Baker Mayfield, Dede Westbrook, and you're right. Matt Leinart did win.
Does James Washington get an invite this year? I'm not sure if he's going to crack the top 5.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be, you're looking at right now, what is it? Baker Mayfield, Bryce Love, is Shaquan in the top 4.
Which is incredibly ridiculous to me. I'm sorry.
And then what is JT Barrett in there right now?
He should
or Lamar Jackson.
It was the guy from Notre Dame that was running back. Although I don't know if he is after this past week, after they lost again. Mm-hmm. It looks bad.
So it looks like, as of right now, ESPN's Heisman poll has Baker Mayfield at 1, Bryce Love 2, Lamar Jackson at 3.
Oh my goodness!
And then Shaquan Barkley.
Give it up on Lamar Jackson.
His statistics are real. I mean, they're just as good as last year, but he doesn't have the wins, so that's why he's not. I mean, he's not going to win it because he has the wins, but he does have pretty great statistics. Right now, he's looking at 3,400 yards. His completion percentage has gone up.
Yeah, that's true.
TDs are at 25 right now compared to 30 last year. It's gone down on his sacks. His QB rating has gone up. So his stats are better. They just have lost more, really, is what is keeping him out.
Here's the story on that completion percentage. He improved, was at 4.2% from last year to this year. I think the story on that is he wants to be drafted. That's the bottom line.
Probably.
Teams don't like it if your completion percentage is under 60. They just really don't. I mean, he still would have gotten drafted, but he wouldn't have been drafted as high. So there's the story on that one. Baker Mayfield, I think, is still your runaway winner, even after the incident 2 Saturdays ago. And I think it was so interesting on Saturday. Okay, so here's the whole thing was, he's going to have to sit out because it's senior day. That's a big deal. It's the last game he's going to play at home. I get that, and I do think that is a big deal. It was the first time he didn't start for OU in all of his career, period. And that's a big deal. There is something to that. I think that really, is. I'm not going to say it's like detrimental to the guy, but I do think that, it's upsetting. It's just, and he understood it. He accepted it. For all the people who are like, he should have gotten suspended or whatever, we kind of had that conversation last week. You can just check that tape. But
did you see though that there were several people that made some gestures this week that ESPN didn't even mention?
No,
the same type of gesture.
Really?
I think UCF. There's a player after a touchdown did the exact same thing. Wasn't even so. It's just kind of there really is a double standard. I think
it is
for one of those people. And even Lamar Jackson right now, who's sitting at number 3, got in a fight in their last game.
Well, fights aren't as bad, so we'd rather you throw a punch than make a gesture. I'm not saying the gesture was right, but look at the standards. It's just it's really weird. I think you're right though. That there's a lot of double standard, but I do think that he sat out. He came in after the first series. I think they should have probably brought him in after the second series, just personally. Because Kyler Murray was killing him.
Yeah, the first series was 2 plays.
It was incredible. That's 49 seconds to a touchdown.
Yeah, and Lincoln Riley said during the press conference that he had already decided that it was going to be 1 series. Previously, didn't matter how long that took. It's just kind of funny. Like I got the update on my ESPN app because I wasn't watching the game live, and so I got like the Bleacher Report update, and just seeing it was pretty comical. I laughed because it said Baker Mayfield enters the game after first 2 plays.
And you're probably like, okay,
yeah,
is that good or bad?
I just laughed. I was like, oh my, that's
And he came in and played like a man on fire. I mean, he came in, he kept a level head whenever there was some chippiness going on by West Virginia, and he just kept playing. And so what happened was he winds up with 14 of 17 for 281 on an 82.4 completion percentage. For all of you who didn't want to do the math on the completions over attempts. And then you got 3 touchdowns. Yeah. My goodness. And his QB rating was a 279.4.
Yes.
Shut up.
He is going to shatter his record last year of the QBR rating. Right now he's looking at a season QBR rating of 203.3, or a passer rating, 203.3. Last year he set the record with a 196. He beat Russell Wilson's record.
That's a 7-point difference.
Yeah, he currently owns the best passer rating record in NCAA history.
Again.
And he's going to shatter it. He's having an insane year.
He's going to be the top 2 guys on the board. I always love that when they're like, the top record holders for a particular stat for a season, and it's always like you have like a guy who has this name in 2 different spots. I always love that for some reason.
That is pretty funny.
I think it's hilarious.
So looking back, comparing like if we're gonna go Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, the raw QBR, which I think is a pretty good adjustment of how a quarterback is doing. I think Lamar Jackson's sitting at an 80 right now on the QBR.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield's at a 91.9, and it really is a huge jump. It is insane the year he's having.
Yeah. No, it is. It is amazing to kind of see what he's putting together. And just what the whole team is putting together, especially on offense. On offense right now, I mean, this team, to see a punt is rare, and to see a punt, we're just going, oh, they're playing terrible right now. It's kind of crazy because punts are normal for most teams. They just are. They're normal for most teams, and they just rarely punt. And when you see the talent that they have, it is disappointing when they punt because you go, there's no reason they should be having to punt. They're just too good. Now, as they get into, if they beat TCU, when they get into the playoffs, if that happens, they are going to wind up facing the best defenses, the best of the best.
Yeah.
You're potentially going to be playing an Auburn, a Wisconsin, or a Clemson, or an Alabama, or a Georgia if they win, or a Miami. I mean, let's just stop and consider everything here. Those are the toughest defenses you're going to face. So can they do it? I think if there's any team that can really put some big numbers up on those teams, it's going to be that. But here's the other reality too. Auburn has given up some points throughout the year at times. Wisconsin, I believe, has, and Clemson has. So it's not that they can't be scored on. It's not like the 85 Bears, okay? We're not talking about one of the best defenses out there all time. Alabama's defense is good, and they didn't even get thrashed on Saturday. They got beat by 12, but they only gave up 26 points. That's actually pretty incredible in today's NCAA. So, I mean, that's probably the best defense out there still, but it wasn't good enough last Saturday. That's the only problem for them.
Yeah.
And they could get left out of the dance.
I'm glad that Oklahoma is playing TCU again in the Big 12 championship to see a good defense again before they head into the college football playoff.
True.
If they win. Because if we're looking at it, you're like, well, Oklahoma destroyed TCU. Yes, but they played their best half of football the first half against TCU. I think, especially as an offensive group and defensively, they stopped and shut down TCU the first half. And you look back at the second half of the TCU game, TCU shut down Oklahoma's offense.
Yes.
And they kind of went, we've talked about that, the prevent offense where they're trying to run out the clock. But they still shut them out the second half. And so I think just because Oklahoma won so big, we tend to say, well, still Big 12 defense. But no, TCU still has a solid and I'm glad that they're playing them in the Big 12 championship to kind of prepare them for, some of these teams that they may face in college football playoff. Because if it's Auburn and if it's Clemson that they're going to face on one of those games, those are games that worry me because Brent Venables seems to always have OU's number offensively.
Oh, man.
And then Auburn, I look back and Oklahoma pretty much handled Auburn handily last year, but it's a different team than last year for sure. And so I really do believe that Oklahoma is going to be able to move the ball on anyone. If we look statistically, this is a number that's crazy. Do you know where they rank right now as far as all-time offenses? It's
OU. It depends on what category, right?
We'll say yards per play.
Yards per play, they're actually pushing Oklahoma's old record, right?
Yes, you are correct.
Wasn't it like is it like 9 yards a play or something like that?
Yeah, the old record was 9 yards a play. Right now, I think they're like at 8.8.
It's incredible. Mm-hmm. That is an incredible. I mean, that many yards per play is unbelievable.
Yes, and the crazy thing is, if you look back on all those even 2008, this is a team that actually legitimately has a run game. That if you're looking back at that 2008 offense, it was.
But it wasn't the 2008 team that had that record.
I think so.
No.
Really?
It was like a mid 40s, 50s team.
We'll
60s.
check it out. We'll check it out.
Yeah, you got to check that out. Because I could be wrong. But I thought it was like an old team that just was killing people. And for OU, I think that you are running the ball really well. I'm with you on that. You are running the ball really well. Did you see the stat on during the game? I don't know if you got to watch the game, like play it back. But did you see the stat where it talked about how many 20 plus yards plays that they have in a game? It was like 6. They have like 6 on average. They have 6 plays a game that go for 20 plus.
Wow.
Which is an amazing number, too. 6 of those. you're talking about 120 yards a game or more off of just 6 plays every game. Uh-oh. We got horns outside. And in fact, let's do this. I know you're looking up those numbers. Let me do this. I'm going to roll us to a break real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk about when that Oklahoma team that set that record, when they were playing, what year it was, okay? So we'll be right back after these short messages from our wonderful sponsors, whom we are so thankful for. Thank you so much for the sponsors, for all the support that we get from all of our listeners. We thank you guys so much. We'll be right back after these short messages.
City Life Community Church is the proud home of Crossover Radio. We are located at 6634 Northwest 36th Street, right here in the heart of Bethany. You can join us for worship at 11 a.m. each Sunday, and if you can't make it, you can hear us right here on Crossover Radio. You can also join us for worship and prayer each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. City Life exists to glorify God by making disciples and doing good in Jesus' name. We are here for Bethany and for the Northwest Oklahoma City communities. We're excited about the opportunity to serve you and your family.
Would your business, organization, or ministry like to connect with our listeners? Crossover Radio is seeking amazing like-minded partnerships to impact our community. Crossover Radio has cheap and affordable sponsorship packages available now. Call us at 405-494-0234 so we can help connect you with thousands of listeners every week right here on Crossover Radio. Again, that number is 405-494-0234. Call us today.
Tired of taking up a seat in church or just watching a production? Join us Sunday at West Metro Community Church in Yukon, a place where your life matters and you are more than a number.
We are located at 601 West Main Street in Yukon, and our worship service is at 10:45 on Sunday. For additional information on our student ministry, men's, women's, and mixed small group Bible studies throughout the week, find our information at www.westmetro.org.
Come be a part of a church where all are welcome.
Crossover Radio. Radio with a purpose.
Welcome back to 3rd and 1 live on your Monday morning. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're not. We've already talked about that. It's 7:51. Hopefully you're not driving right now. If you're getting to work, maybe you're settling in, getting settled down, or maybe you don't have to go in.
Unless you start at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
Like I do.
Same. So
then then hopefully you get there safely and with no problems. By the way, we have a message. We have a message from one Dana Parrish.
Hey, what's up, Mom?
She said, "Love the OU scene setter. Put tears in my eyes."
Oh, a little with Toby Rowland. I watched that too. It was talking about senior day.
Oh yeah.
Kind of showed some of the seniors highlights. It was good. It was good stuff.
That's cool. That's cool stuff. Man, it was a good game though. It was a good game overall. They did not play excellent football. The defense was a little disappointing for me, to be honest, after what we had seen.
Yeah, definitely.
But overall, still really, really good.
Did you hear Mike Stoops' post game?
No.
We've got to go on this because I've got to talk about this a little bit. Mike Stoops, man, he said, well, we worked a lot of their plays from the years, and about 80% of what we saw wasn't what they worked. And they did some Wildcat, which we hadn't seen from them all year. But this is now the third team that has had success on Mike Stoops running the Wildcat with the quarterback run. And it's always been because, we haven't seen this before. But
Mike Stoops' team defenses have always had problems with mobile quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, sorry.
Always. No, you are absolutely correct.
Before he ever left to go coach at Arizona, they had problems with running quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, thankfully, then it wasn't as prolific as it was now. But
Yeah.
it's everywhere now. Everyone has a mobile quarterback, almost.
But we've talked about this before. It seems like Mike Stoops has to take a half to adjust before he finally goes,
Yes.
okay, they're not running exactly what we game planned for. And we're going to stick to what we game plan for, and until they show for a half that they're not doing what we game plan for, then we're not going to make any adjustments. And I'm so tired of it. so tired of it because it's
Yeah.
becoming ridiculous. And
It's gonna bite him in a big time game. That's the bottom line. Like this is against teams that are okay to good. Some of them are really good, but most of them are okay to good. This is gonna bite you against a really, really good team.
Yeah, and to say
Clemson.
this isn't what this is an offense that they're running that we haven't. What did you expect? Their quarterback was injured. Why are you still game planning
For Will Grier.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to expect that this is going to be a backup quarterback. They're going to throw some wrinkles at you because they have a backup coming in. As a Division I defensive coordinator, you should be able to expect that, and you should be able to run a defensive package for the Wildcat. You should have that already in your defensive scheme.
The other thing is, it wasn't necessarily the run that was gashing them. It was the pass.
Well, the Wildcat, I mean, they really did. They started gashing them on the run in the second half. But you're right. In the first half, the pass was absolutely getting them. Yeah.
It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible at different times. But you know what? It's just kind of what we've come to expect with this team. I still just, people may want to say, man, people just don't understand. Mike Stoops is really good. And I know I've heard former players even say that. I know I've heard sports broadcasters say that. And I'm still just saying, look, I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying that he's a bad coach. What I'm saying is he doesn't perform to expectations. The expectations are you are getting these elite level defenders. You're getting elite level players. You've got to do more with it. And this stuff about you have to take a half, because it takes about a half to adjust, or at least a quarter. And some of the game planning is not great. And it's just like, man, he just doesn't have the edge anymore. We're talking about Oklahoma. We're not talking about Oklahoma State. We're not talking about Texas Tech. We're not talking about Baylor. We're not talking about Kansas. We are talking about OU, which should be one of the premier teams and premier defenses in the entire country. I don't care what league you play in.
Yeah. I mean, if we're looking at it realistically, I think if you're Mike Stoops, I think really Baker Mayfield and Lincoln Riley have saved your job.
Yes.
Because if the offense isn't the best unit in the nation,
and one of the best all time, seriously, one of the best all time.
Yeah, then you're I mean, you're looking at probably multiple losses for this Oklahoma team, just based off how their defense has played. And so, yeah, I think Mike Stoops owes his job to this point, up to Baker Mayfield and Lincoln Riley, because he really, I mean, it's been a pretty poor performance. Because here's the deal: you're looking at, and we're complaining about Mike Stoops, and they're going to the Big 12 championship and have a chance for a playoff run.
Yeah,
like that's
I
the
agree.
thing. So it's hard to say, okay, we need to make this change when they're when they're going to the Big 12 championship and making a playoff run as an organization. Now, is that conversation credible? Can you start? Yeah, you can say that this has been a terrible offense or defensive performance by this team. So it really is strange for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think I accidentally hit something here. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Accidentally bumped one of the controls, and it's
hot.
Yeah, it spiked. But anyways, as far as the entire total team, though, I will say on the offensive end, I feel like, and we've had some really great players as far as great athletes. I'm not saying they were all good people, but I want everyone to hear me out. We've had great players like Joe Mixon, who was just an incredible football player, incredible athlete. We had Samaje Perine. We had D.D. Westbrook. We've had Sterling Shepard. Then if you want to go back a little bit further, we've had Adrian Peterson. We've had, Jermaine Gresham, whenever we were just lighting it up with Bradford, okay? We've had all these incredible players. I feel like, though, this offense is a more complete team, a more complete offense than maybe that we've ever had.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't have all the stars, but we have a Rodney Anderson who, again, if to go back on what I said, if he would have been playing earlier in the year like he is now, if he would have already had the rust off then, he would be a star. Sorry, he would be an absolute star, and he could definitely make it in the NFL, I think. I think he'd be a really, really good player because he's a really balanced running back. But
it's funny that you say that because I also think that he just has really, legitimately really good balance.
Oh, that's true.
So
no, he does.
He is a balanced running back, but I think he actually has great balance.
He stays up incredibly well. He does not go down easy. It's crazy. He bounces and everything. Anyways, but we have Rodney Anderson. But I mean, you have wide receivers like a CD, right? And you've got
he is going to be a beast.
Yes, no, I agree. But you've got a Marquise Brown, who again I think will be a really, really good wide receiver for this football team in the next couple of years.
But you're looking at a freshman and a sophomore,
yeah,
right there, and a sophomore that this is his first year playing Division I football.
Yes, and so you have a Mark Andrews who has just come onto the scene this year. I mean, big time. We've got Calcaterra. We've got Dimitri Flowers is an underrated part of this team.
Oh, he is one of the best players on the offense.
He can catch the ball better than almost any fullback I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. And is a fantastic run blocker. He really is.
He's a great run blocker. And whenever we have a play where we need a yard, I don't know if you remember, but there was an early 4th down.
Yeah,
okay?
4th and 1.
4th and 1. They needed a yard. And you know what? West Virginia was getting push on the line. They got to him early.
Mm-hmm.
He hit the guy and rolled off of him to get the extra yard. It's consistently what he does. I'm not saying he's always going to do it. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying anything like that. But I'm just saying he normally consistently gets that yard for you.
Yeah, he definitely is like that Swiss Army knife type player where he just goes out and does everything well. He really does. And he's going to be a guy I think they really are going to miss next year. Obviously, they're going to miss Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
But Dimitri Flowers, I think, is a huge part of making this offense click and the big plays because they'll do several plays where he'll sneak out of the backfield and get like 20-yard reception. It's awesome.
Yes. No, I agree. And then you look at the offensive line. Offensive line is incredible. And then Baker Mayfield is the one who makes this whole thing run. Okay? The offensive line and Baker Mayfield really is what makes this whole thing run.
Yes.
Both those combined. Because without one or the other doesn't look as good and you don't get to really you don't benefit. You've got to have both the offensive line and the quarterback, and everything else falls into place at that point. And the pieces are just really consistent. I mean, that's the bottom line. On offense, we have really consistent pieces. You can pretty much know what to expect overall. Again, they're not perfect, but they're pretty consistent. So it's been really interesting. It's been a really, really interesting season to kind of see all that unfold. I did not think we would be saying these things about this team at this point in the year, but they are one of the best offenses OU has ever seen and one of the best offenses NCAA has ever seen.
Yeah, so we looked up the statistics. We did not. I couldn't find like an all-time comparison of the yards per play. However, what I did do is I can kind of confirm that it wasn't the 2008 team because those numbers weren't close. They were like at 6 yards per play. So I think you are correct because I have heard that Oklahoma does have that all-time yards per play record, and I think you are right. I think it does go back to a 40s team. Yeah. But I mean, if we're just comparing those two different teams. The 2018, which is, I mean, one of the better offenses of all time. They were at like 6.8 yards per play, and this 2017 team is up to 8.4 yards per play, which is insane. And if we're looking at, this is just a fun stat. You're looking at that 2008 offense, and you're like, well, I thought they were better than that. The number one player yards per play ever of all time was Sam Bradford with 8.7. And Baker Mayfield right now is sitting at number 6 with 8.27 behind Jameis Winston, Ryan Dinwiddie from Boise State, and Andrew Luck and Marcus Mariota and Sam Bradford. So those are just some pretty I don't really know Dinwiddie. But the other ones, I mean, obviously huge players. He's above Johnny Manziel, or actually tied with Johnny Manziel right now.
Kellen Moore. Yeah,
Kellen Moore, Bryce Petty. I mean, you're looking at a lot of, all-time great players in college football. So
wow, that's crazy. That's really, really crazy stuff. So here's the bottom line for me on OU, okay? You win and you're in. That's obvious, okay? You win and you're probably number 2 in the nation. If Clemson goes down, you probably rise to number 1. I'm going to be really interested to see what the college football playoff committee is going to say about OU. I wonder if they're going to have them at number 2 or number 3. I don't think they're any worse than number 3, but I also don't think they're any better than number 2. So it's going to be number 2 and number 3.
Yeah, if I'm OU right now, I want to be in that position. I want to be number 2 or number 3 because I don't want to play Clemson right now, and I don't want to be number 1 and have Alabama sneak in and play Alabama at number 1 and 4. So I think if you're OU, the best case scenario is to be in that 2 to 3 range right now.
Here's the thing for me. Here's the thing. If Auburn gets in, they're number 4 because of their record. Sorry, it's just how it is. Unless Wisconsin loses. If Wisconsin loses, then Auburn maybe gets to number 3. But Auburn is at no better number 3 or number 4. They will not put a 2-loss team at number 2 or number 1. They just won't, in my opinion. So you're going to either be playing, if you're number 1, if it's Clemson or if OU winds up climbing there because of Clemson loss or whatever, you are playing either Auburn or Alabama. Here's my thing on that. If you're OU, you've had in the bowls, okay, you've had more success against SEC teams than anyone else, which is weird and crazy, but it's true.
I mean, I really do think Oklahoma, matches up well against SEC teams.
Well, and then that goes to my point then. If you get there, you might as well just say, hey, you know what? We're here. Let's play them. Let's get it done.
That's what I'm saying. I'd rather play an SEC team than Clemson.
I see what you're saying.
I'd absolutely rather
I thought
play.
you were saying you wouldn't want to meet in Alabama in the first round.
Well, I would rather play. So obviously, I think if you're looking at it, Wisconsin is my
probably
that would be who you would want right off the bat.
And not that they're a bad team. I just don't feel like they're as strong as Clemson, Auburn, Alabama. I just don't. I just don't feel like they're as strong. So I'm with you. Go ahead.
Then I would take Auburn, and then last I would take Clemson because here's the deal of why I think Clemson is OU's worst nightmare in the college football playoff, because Clemson has a good defense and a good offense. Yeah. And so you're looking at these SEC teams. What has kept Oklahoma together is that they can stop the run sometimes when it's coming from a running back, not necessarily the Wildcat offense or a running quarterback, but they've shown that they can decently stop the run and play against a pretty simple SEC offense. Now, when I say stop it, I mean comparatively to how the Big 12 scores on them. And also, they usually can go up and put about 30 points a game on an SEC defense. So you're looking at they probably score 30 and probably allow 21 points. And that's just how it's typically gone when OU plays an SEC team, and they've just matched up well. Now with Clemson has gone out and absolutely destroyed their defense, and then also their offense has struggled. I mean, they're probably looking at about 28 points, which you're like, 28 points, that's a lot. Yeah, it is a lot when you're talking about the SEC. Yeah. But when Clemson's going out and scoring 38 points a game, then it's tough. So that's why I think Clemson's Oklahoma's. I mean, they're kind of the team that I think Oklahoma matches up with the worst. So
I agree.
That's who I'd be scared to play.
I agree with that. I think there's a lot of great points in that. It would be very tough. I would be interested to see OU play Alabama's defense. Like this offense play Alabama's defense, because I feel like Alabama's defense is the best in the country, just personally. I feel like they have they have a DB that's up for Heisman. I know he's not
Minka,
serious.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's not a serious Heisman contender just because the Heisman committees are garbage. But that's just my opinion. I really get irritated that defensive players consistently aren't even seriously considered. The last defensive player to be seriously considered was Ndamukong Suh, who had to have this outrageous year for them to even consider him. And he still didn't win it whenever he deserved to win it that year. Just my opinion.
They had the Notre Dame middle linebacker that went. They got catfished.
Te'o.
Te'o, yeah, he was a finalist.
Right. That's right. I forgot about Te'o. But I get irritated that it's always quarterbacks or running backs. That's it. That's all who wins this trophy anymore. And it's absolutely garbage, but that's another conversation for another day. But still, I feel like Alabama's defense would be just an incredible matchup to see OU's offense play Alabama's defense. Even if the season were over, I wish they would just do some kind of
like a unit game, like best offensive unit plays best defensive unit.
Like I would just love to see it be like, hey, we're just doing this for fun. I know that they won't, but it would be just a dream scenario for me, because that is one of those matchups that everyone would be so hungry to see. I mean, in my opinion, you see this offense go up against that defense, you just go, hey, may the best man win. Like, seriously, it would be one of those things where if you were just saying offense versus defense, which one would win out of 10 times, I feel like it would be 5 out of 5. Like 5 and 5. I feel like both teams, both units would wind up winning 5 times out of 10. It would be so dead even. It would be incredible just to see it. But anyways, just my opinion. I think it would be an awesome thing to see. All right, I think that's probably enough for the NCAA football talk for now. We have so many big games coming up this upcoming weekend, and Friday we will definitely get you guys prepared for those as well. Let's go ahead and dive into. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and roll to a break very quickly, and when we come back, we will dive into incredible play by Trae Young for OU men's basketball. If you haven't been paying attention, you need to listen when we come back from this break because it has been incredible. If you have not been paying attention to OU men's basketball, it is electric, it's exciting, it is incredible, and you need to be paying attention. So when we come back right after these short messages, we will talk about that. We'll talk about the Thunder, and so it'll be all things basketball here on 3rd and 1. We will be right back.
City Life Community Church is the proud home of Crossover Radio. We are located at 6634 Northwest 36th Street, right here in the heart of Bethany. You can join us for worship at 11 a.m. each Sunday, and if you can't make it, you can hear us right here on Crossover Radio. You can also join us for worship and prayer each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. City Life exists to glorify God by making disciples and doing good in Jesus' name. We are here for Bethany and for the Northwest Oklahoma City communities. We're excited about the opportunity to serve you and your family.
Would your business, organization, or ministry like to connect with our listeners? Crossover Radio is seeking amazing like-minded partnerships to impact our community. Crossover Radio has cheap and affordable sponsorship packages available now. Call us at 405-494-0234 so we can help connect you with thousands of listeners every week right here on Crossover Radio. Again, that number is 405-494-0234. Call us today.
Tired of taking up a seat in church or just watching a production? Join us Sunday at West Metro Community Church in Yukon, a place where your life matters and you are more than a number.
We are located at 601 West Main Street in Yukon, and our worship service is at 1045 on Sunday. For additional information on our student ministry, men's, women's, and mixed small group Bible studies throughout the week, find our information at www.westmetro.org.
Come be a part of a church where all are welcome.
Crossover Radio. Radio with a purpose.
Now for a break.
Activate.
All right, 3rd and 1 live on your Monday morning sit or drive. That's right, here on Crossover Radio, radio with a purpose. Man, here's a couple things from DLC, an avid listener of the show. He says, howdy. He says he's not driving. Good. He said par 30 for the course, Evan. Yes, par 30. And then he said congrats. And then I'm not sure what this was in reference to because I didn't see the messages till later. I'm sorry about that. But he said, woot, right, Dustin. I'm not sure what that was in reference to.
You know, I appreciate that because I think generally I just am more. No, I'm kidding. Thanks.
Generally,
thanks,
he
DLC.
is deserving of a woot.
No. I'm totally kidding. But yeah, let us know. Hey, if you're still listening, Dave Lee, let us know what you were referring to, and we'll talk about it. So
we will talk. All right. Let's also do this. We're gonna dive into some college basketball here in just a second, but let's talk about this OU basketball team, but specifically Trae Young. Trae Young, for all those who don't know, he was a highly coveted recruit.
Yeah, McDonald's All-American.
Highly coveted. And Kansas and OU wound up being the final two teams that he was deciding between. Kansas wanted him badly. In fact, there's a shot of, I believe it was one of his last games, if not his last basketball game in high school, and you saw both Bill Self and Lon Kruger in the stands, and they were actually sitting next to one another, which is actually kind of cool to me because I think both Bill Self and Lon Kruger are seem like really nice guys. They don't seem like jerks, either one of them, and both of them are very accomplished. They have a lot of things on their resume that if there were two guys to be prideful, they could be. But they seem to be very down to earth overall. I really like both those guys. Really respect them overall as coaches.
Yeah, I've seen that picture. It's pretty funny to just see that
because they're just sitting right next to each other. Yeah. And they're watching Trae Young, but they're both super competing for this one guy who has been incredible to the beginning of this season. So I think that for Trae Young, so he's a freshman, true freshman, starting, and we see why. He had 43 points last night. 43 against a good Oregon team.
Yeah.
Not a great Oregon team, but a good Oregon team. This team only has one loss, and it was to Arkansas. Yes, you can get in your digs, Jeremy. That's okay. Arkansas is supposed to be a really good team this year too.
Yeah, they were. They were stroking. They were hitting. I mean, they're 44% field goal rating. I think the 3 percentage, I think, was where Arkansas did really well against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They shot 44% from 3-point percentage, which is pretty good as a team.
Who did?
Arkansas.
What?
Yeah.
No, that's Trae Young's numbers.
Oh, that's his. Wow. Okay.
Which, by the way, Trae Young has been lighting it up. From 3-point lands overall, he's a 386, which isn't great, but it's good. His field goal percentage is almost 48% at 47.7. And then his free throw percentage, this is where it just warms my heart, especially after seeing the Thunder's tragedy behind the stripe. Trae Young is shooting almost 90%. He's 42 of 47, 89.4%. 21 rebounds, 43 assists on the year, 3 blocks, 11 steals. The guy is a really good player. Only 18 turnovers. So you're talking about what? Almost a 5? No. Let's see here. It's about a 3, about a 2.5. 2.5 assist to turnover ratio, somewhere in that range, which is good. It's a good number. It's not great, but it's a good number. I think he's good.
Looking at his points, I mean, they literally have just increased every game he's played, which is that's not going to continue to happen. But no. I mean, his first game he played, he had 15. Then against Ball State, 22. Against Arkansas in the lone loss of the year right now for OU, 28 points. Then against Portland, which I think you could think that's probably a little worse of an opponent than Arkansas. You got to 33, and then against Oregon, who's a solid team, 43 points. So it's kind of funny to see that those numbers have just continued to rise up.
Yeah,
maybe he'll score 50. So
maybe we'll see. We'll see. What's their next game?
Let's check it out. I'll look.
Because this OU team. Oh, I got it here. Sorry, North Texas. They play North Texas on Thursday. No. Yeah, Thursday. So North Texas, and so that'll be really good. That'll be really good stuff. North Texas and then UTSA. Not great competition, but then they play USC at USC. They play at Wichita State on the 16th of December. There we go. There's a good game.
So Arkansas in their game was 50% from the 3-point line.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Wow. That is incredible.
They lit it up. They really did from beyond the arc.
Yeah, no kidding. That is amazing. So let me ask you this. So do you think that Trae Young, if he continues playing like this, he's going to come out after this year?
Yeah, I mean, if he plays this way against Big 12 teams, absolutely.
And in the tournament?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think we're seeing too that he kind of has had a few different turnover issues.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, I mean, he's a freshman. I think that's going to come. I think he's going to continue to improve on those type of things. But yeah, I mean, definitely if he continues to score, around the 30-point range against Big 12 teams, I absolutely think he will. Now, do I think that will happen? I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure yet.
I think he'll be in the 20s. I think he'll be in the 20s.
Yeah, that's where I would think your expectations is right now if you're looking at Trae Young against Big 12 play. I
still think if he scores 20 a game though, in Big 12 play, he's coming out.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm not sold on it just yet.
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. But
He's going to be a really coveted draft pick if he winds up continue playing somewhere close to this.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to be like, dude's played a year at the point guard position.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's played a lot more than that, but I'm saying in college. I think he'll be really coveted. But I don't think he'll be a number one guy. I mean, if he gets up to scoring 30, 40 points a game all year, then he's going to be a number one guy. Sorry. He's going to be a number 1, 2, or 3. That's it. That's at worst 3 if he continues doing that. Even if he continues still having somewhat high turnovers, like I said, if he's a 2.5 assists to 1 turnover, it's still a good ratio. It's not great, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'll say right now my expectation is that he stays another year.
Yeah.
But I mean, he absolutely has the opportunity to improve that. I think he could easily. I think we're seeing that he could easily be a draft pick this year and come out this year if he continues to play well. I just think my expectation right now is that he'll stay at least 1 more year. But if he continues to get that play improved, maybe cuts down on the turnovers a little bit and continues to score at a high rate, which he will. I mean, he is a shooter. He absolutely, if you've seen him play, I mean, he strokes the 3-ball for sure. So I think he'll continue to score, and I wouldn't be surprised, but my expectation at this point is that he'll stay 1 more year.
Yeah, I would probably, if I were putting money on it, he's going to stay another year. But I will say this. I don't know. There's a part of me that feels like he's going to get good enough. It will be a strong consideration, and it will be a discussion.
Yeah,
there will be.
I absolutely think so.
I think it will be that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be a strong enough year that it will get to that point where there'll have to be a decision that people.
Yeah, there'll be reporters asking him, like, Trey, what are you doing next year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, though. We'll see how that goes. I do think that this team is really good. I feel like OU by the end of the year could wind up being really good. I think that they could really push some teams in the NCAA tournament, and that would be really exciting to see. Do I think that they're good enough that they could beat Kansas? Maybe. If Kansas is on an off day, I feel like they could beat Kansas. I really do. I think that they're good enough as a unit. And they don't play Kansas. Check this. They don't play Kansas. The first game is January 23rd. And that's at home. And so you're talking about they have a lot of games between now and then before they ever play Kansas. So I think that gives them some time to kind of gel. It gives time for Trae Young to kind of get more of his feet under him, if you will. And it will be an interesting game. I really think so at home. But we'll see. We'll see how that all goes. I think it's exciting. Must we talk about the Thunder? Must we?
Man, I don't want to.
I really don't. I mean, Wednesday was incredible. They destroyed the Warriors. So here's the thing. I know I didn't make any predictions, all that kind of stuff. I did have a feeling, at least, day of, if not right before the game, where I thought, you know what, I feel like there's just something about this game where it feels like I think that they're going to wind up beating the Warriors. But I also was saying in my mind, at least to try to balance it out, I'm not sure that this means that they're going to figure out everything and get everything fixed. I'm not saying it's going to lead to this big thing. I think that it could, but I'm not convinced that it was going to do that. But I did feel like they were going to win the game. I felt like it was not a great spot for the Warriors. It was at the Thunder. The Thunder were really amped. They have all these really good players that all want to show up for Russ because of everything that happened last year. I just felt like the whole scenario was really in the Thunder's favor. And we saw that it was in a big way, and we saw what this team is capable of. But then what we saw in the next few days is that this team came back down to what they do.
Back to reality.
Where, and you know what? I'm afraid that there's laziness going on. I really am. I'm afraid there's some laziness going on. I'm not sure, but it's just this team continues to go up on other teams big and lose these leads, and it is just over and over. It's the same song over and over. And every time that they're up big, you're just like, well, they're probably going to lose this one. I mean, I don't know what is going on with this team. I really don't. I don't know what there is to fix it. And we talked about, remember a week ago, we put the Thunder on trial. We put Donovan on trial. We put Carmelo on trial. And then we said, hey, if here in a week they're doing the same things, we need to put them on trial again. Well, this Friday, if we don't see some different stuff by this Friday, I think we've got to put Westbrook and Paul George on trial. Just got to.
Yeah, definitely. And we talked about from the beginning that really this was a team that was built to beat Golden State.
Yes,
I mean
it was.
So
they did that.
They
in a big
match up
way.
well against them.
Their defense was incredible.
Yes, and Paul George right now is Defensive Player of the Year consideration.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he's incredible right now. His defensive performances have been outstanding. I'm interested to see him play against Kawhi Leonard. That's going to be fun.
That will be fun. Absolutely.
Both those guys going at each other, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, and it's fun to have someone. So now here's the deal too: is like when you have a guy that's locking down people like Paul George, can you start to say, okay, maybe we should go get a shooting guard?
Can you just at least not start? Can we just not start Robertson, please?
Yeah.
Can we just throw Abrinas in there? I know he hasn't been playing great, but let's get him some more time.
Because that's been your argument up to this point is we need someone that can go and lock down an elite scorer.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
We have two
Paul
now.
George.
Do you? I mean.
Yeah, and let's say you're playing a team where it's star-studded. In a game against Golden State, do I want Robertson starting at the shooting guard position? Yes. Definitively, yes. I agree with that move.
Yeah.
If we're playing a team that is not as much, but still is just a really good overall unit offensively, and you've got to put some points up, which I mean, Golden State fits that bill. I realize that, but I feel like he matches up well with him now that we have Paul George. But anyways, I feel like we gotta start someone else at that shooting guard position. I'm with you. But I will say this though, I don't think actually this team's problems are actually related to Robertson this year.
I don't either. I just think there'd be more scoring with but yeah, I mean, I don't know. He may be the best player. We'll see. It's getting to the point where like everyone's searching for answers right now.
Yeah,
and I don't think we all necessarily have them, but it's not working right now.
It would not surprise me. It would not surprise me if we have a Thunder team that is Carmelo less by the end of the year. I have still this feeling like some of this is attributed to some effect that Carmelo has on the team, either on the court or off the court. Now, I don't have anything to prove that. I really don't. But typically, if you've looked at the history of what Carmelo has done and the teams he's been on, it's not been good. And I thought it could change here. I'm just not convinced. Man, I don't know. It's really hard for me to put my thumb on it. And everyone's looking for answers, like you said. I feel like some of it is definitely could be something there. If they were to trade him, put him in another situation, and get some pieces back, and to kind of increase their depth, I just feel like this team might more consistently play better. Now, do I feel like they match up as well against a Golden State without Carmelo? No. So herein lies the problem. Either they've got to play more consistently against these bad teams and subpar teams, or they've got to change something, though. They have to. They cannot keep doing the same thing, or else they won't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And they could wind up beating Golden State again this year. Anyways, I'm just kind of upset about it. Hey, DLC dropped in a comment here before we close up the show. We definitely want to address that. He says TCU is looking for revenge, so they're going to be coming out of the gate all guns blazing.
I fully expect that. I really do.
Then he says, oop, there goes gravity.
Oh, back to reality.
Oh, my goodness. All right, that was interesting. Well, I mean, here we are at the end of the show. We don't want to leave on the Thunder note, so let's just leave on this note, okay? Fantasy football. I don't know how much you've been paying attention, Dustin.
To our league.
To our league, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun into the season because we have legitimately at least 7 or 8 teams that are. In fact, wait. Don't the playoffs start this week for us? I believe they do.
Do they? Man.
I believe they do. Hold on. Here we go. Now we're going to find out.
Maybe because I don't think I had a game matchup there.
Well, you would still play. There's consolation if you didn't make it in the playoffs. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, man, I got beat this week.
Yeah, but you scored a bunch of points, though.
Someone scored 155 on me. Huh.
That would be our station's own Phil. So that is which, by the way, you can catch Phil and Ryan on Ryan and Philip's Conversation Rules every Sunday night from 8 to 9. It's a really, really good show. You need to check that out. It's a political based show. It's really good stuff though. They really get in depth on some stuff and don't mind having real conversations. All right, so here are the standings. Man, okay, so I might miss the playoffs. How crazy is it? No, I'm going to get in because the other league or the other division is just bad right now. Go to a projected playoff bracket. There we go. Yes, I would be in at number 4 playing Phil Larson, which is not fair. But you know what? It all comes down to this. It's weeks 14 to 15. So we got one more week.
One more week.
Where are you at in standings?
I think I'm in that like 4-way tie for second. Yeah, down here of the first order.
Okay, so golly, your division is nuts.
Yeah, it's wild.
You've got 5 teams at 5 and 6 in your division. You legitimately can still get in, I think.
Yeah, this last week really hurt me. I needed to win this last week.
Because I'm at 6 and 5, and here's the thing: I'm holding. I control my destiny.
Yeah, if you win, you're in.
After this week, I have the win, I believe, locked up at this point. After this week, I'll be at 7 and 5. But you lost.
Yeah.
You're gonna be at 5 and 7. Never mind.
If I lose,
you don't have any more players left, do you?
Huh?
You don't have any more players left.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess that's not gonna happen tonight. You're right. I will be at 5 and 6. Yeah, I'll be out.
Sorry, man.
Out. Yeah.
Sorry, man. Dreams crushed right here on the video.
If you would have told me I would score 122 points this week, I'd be like,
I'm probably gonna win.
I'm winning.
Yeah,
I'm winning. Didn't happen.
I have just been getting pure lucky. There's no question about it. I've won back-to-back weeks with
the
not
past
great
2 weeks. I got scored 155 points. The week before, 142.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah,
that's so bad.
Right in the thick of when I needed to win too.
That stinks. I've won games with 103 points the last 2 weeks.
I want to check like my points against.
Oh my goodness. I've been so lucky. I'm probably going to get drubbed in the playoffs. That's okay. But it's going to be fun. We'll see how it all shakes out. But we will definitely let our listeners know how the fantasy football team goes. All right, hey, this has been fun. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, if you are listening on the app, please definitely let your family and friends know about Crossover Radio in general, because we do want to share the gospel of Christ with all of our listeners, and we do it through a number of different shows and varieties. We have a really lighthearted sports show every Monday and Friday morning, and there's other things that go on throughout the week as well, with all kinds of political shows and live shows and current events and things like that. But ultimately, we hope that everyone knows that we love Jesus, and we hope that you love Jesus too. And that's the bottom line. That we would really want everyone to know Christ and ultimately to make him known as well. It's all for the glory of God. That's what all of life is about. And we just hope that everyone knows that, not just in their head but in their heart. And so if you have any questions, any at all, that have to do about Christianity, about faith, about hey man, my life's kind of crazy right now, or hey man, my life's messed up, I need help, contact us. We would love to definitely counsel with you and definitely give you any kind of help and information that we can, but ultimately point you to the gospel of Christ, because ultimately without Christ your life cannot be fixed. It cannot be fixed. It's broken, and if you don't have Christ, man, let me just say it, you need Christ. That's the bottom line. So hey, we will be back with you on Friday morning, and we'll be talking about the conference championship games in football, and we will be getting you prepared for that and so much more. And until then, Dustin.
Yeah, it's been fun. Like I said, I'm glad to get back into our little rhythm.
Yes.
Being on Monday and Friday, and good word from you this morning. So. Definitely appreciate that. But yeah, reach out to us, comment on some of these videos throughout the week. We'll see it when we come back in. And yeah, peace.
All right, sounds good. All right, y'all have a great weekend. Prepare for launch in 3, 2, 1.